Welcome back, folks. Welcome to the Bet Online Salute to Troy show. It's your boy, Coach Rowe. I'm back. This time, New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm with the man of the hour, Ryan Dyrud, Mr. LAFB himself. Unfortunately, you see with different face here. Phil decided to go in a different direction. We wish him the best. All is well. But Salute to Troy has to keep moving forward, and that's what we're going to do. So we got Ryan Dyrud stepping in. I'm kind of like Stephen A. Smith when they lost Max Kellerman, but hopefully it's a lot better. No Michael Irvin takes. So
yes,
no Michael Irvin takes. Starting it off, man. We lost a great. We lost a great in the Trojan family. We lost Anthony Davis. Sorry, not Anthony Davis. Charles White. I apologize. Just so many great running backs. We lost Charles White. I actually had the opportunity to meet him my freshman year. They all came back for what's it's called Salute to Troy. That's where I got the name of the show from. It's like a booster thing that happens before the season starts, fireworks, everything. And Charles White came back my freshman year. Got to meet him. That was one of the great. He was there. Marcus Allen was there. I will say this: like, if we were to rank all the running backs, and me personally, in my opinion, I think Charles White will be number 3, number 4, because I'll go OJ, Marcus Allen, Reggie Bush, and then Charles White is there. And then you have Anthony Davis. But then you also have a hard-pressing argument for Sam Bam Cunningham, right? So this running back, and all these numbers we're talking about are in the end zone, right? I think they even put Reggie's number back in there, up there, right?
It better be soon.
So, all these numbers are in the end zone. Charles White is one of the, I guess, founding fathers of tailback U, which the USC had the name for. And I mean, he was great. He will be missed. Legendary Trojan. My prayers out to his family. Lost the battle with cancer. That's always a terrible way to go. But
yeah,
Trojan forever.
You could argue, Alfred, and thanks for having me on to selectively co-host here and there. Excited the show goes on, right? The show goes on. Yeah. So, but you could argue that Charles White is in the conversation as just greatest Trojan of all time in terms of hardware and accolades and stats. I mean, it might be in terms of records they hold and hardware. It's kind of like him and Matt Leinart. So, truly a great running back. Obviously finished his NFL career right back here in Los Angeles with the Rams. And so, yeah, definitely, thoughts and prayers and hearts goes out to the family there. Obviously that's tough. He was only 64 years old. So way too young, but an absolute legend. And once a Trojan, always a Trojan.
Greatest Trojan ever. I saw Jamal bring that up the other day. I would love to have that conversation with him because there's a lot of Trojans
there's a lot of good Trojans.
There's a Trojan who's technically the first African-American in Division I football, and he was SC's first All-American, and he only had one hand. So there's a lot there. We could walk we should just go up there. They have all the All-Americans on the wall. We could look at that wall and have a legit debate about who was the greatest Trojan because they're all on that wall. I mean, yeah, he could definitely go on there. But definitely moving forward. Hey, so before we move forward, Ryan, I just want to let you know that I started taking athletic greens. That's this right here. I started a job, and I have to be on the job site at 5:30 in the morning. So I wake up at 4:15, rushing. You know what I mean? Rushing. At least I get off at 2. Rushing. I stopped eating breakfast, and I'm a big breakfast guy. And I started to feel myself really hungry by 9 o'clock in the morning and lagging, trying to get through my day. So I decided to take athletic greens. Not only does it give me energy, it keeps me full, and it's a good meal replacement to have. It also keeps me regular if you wanted to know that, but I don't think you did. But neither here nor there. It's something that I could put in my stomach, on my body, that I know gets me through that wall. And now when it's about 9 o'clock, I'm pushing through the day with no problem ever since I started taking athletic greens. Athletic greens is so great. Athletic Greens decided to make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free year of immune system, vitamin D, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/salute-to-Troy. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/salute-to-Troy. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
The best. I love it because we all got AG1, so it's like we actually use it, and it's legit. And it legit comes in this bottle. You fill it up to the 12, and you shake it, and you just go. There you go. Good to go.
So it's great. So there you go. Moving forward, let's review this year. Let's review this year. Now, a lot will say this year was a disappointment. A lot will say SC fell short. Mm-hmm. A lot will say they should have been in the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. I disagree with all those. I think they did everything that they were supposed to do this year with this hire. In fact, I think they were ahead of schedule. Early in the show last year when we talked, I predicted them to win about 8 games, right? I underestimated Caleb Williams. I underestimated Lincoln Riley as a play caller. Mm-hmm. As the season went on and it started to happen, you're like, okay. But we always have this talk. And we had this talk when we did the crossover show, when we did the Victory Veil. I said SC's not ready to go to a playoff, right? Mm-hmm. People were complaining about the TCU game. What happens if SC would have been in that game, right? Like, it would have been more points, but it would have been 48-65, right? Because there was a lot of holes to fill. Looking back,
at would have scored, though. They would have at least scored.
Yeah. No doubt. They would have scored. I don't doubt that. Looking back at the season, I think they were ahead of schedule. Way ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. But here's the plus. With the transfer portal, they don't have to reload with recruiting. And I'm kind of noticing what they're doing. They're building and reloading, right? They're kind of using transfers to replace, but they're also picking up kids that are in the top of the recruiting class now from home and trying to develop. Here's the hardest thing that you have to deal with that, though, keeping them there. So how do you tell a kid, like, all right, you just have to wait now? Because now kids don't want to wait.
Yep.
How do you
Yeah, Fred, gone are the days of Cody Kessler sitting for 2 to 3 years before he got his shot, or it's like you start now or they're moving on.
Right. Quick. So, like Matt Leinart, right? Matt Leinart waited behind Carson Palmer. Mark Sanchez, John David Booty, they all waited. Like, back then, being a quarterback is waiting. I mean, Dwayne Jarrett didn't really wait. Patrick Turner had to wait because he got there and Dwayne Jarrett was the guy and Steve Smith was the guy, and then he got his opportunity. Everybody got their opportunity. Fred Davis had to wait behind Dominique Byrd. And these are all guys like before me and while I was there. So, like, waiting is gone. How do you keep a freshman happy with transfers and keep the ball rolling? That is the biggest question. And I think any coach that understands that with this transfer portal game becomes very successful. And I will say this, though. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, 2-3 transfers a year. Winning solves a transfer problem, right?
Yep, I was just going to say that, yeah.
So if the Trojans get to winning, which they did, right? They won, 12 games? They won 11. Yeah, 11, right. They won 11 games. That's a very good team. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, well, are the Trojans going to win the national championship? They only have 11 over a span of time. They don't have an immediate 11, right? They have a couple from the 70s, a couple from the 80s, a couple from the 2000s. Mm-hmm. College football is not really about winning the national championship. Look at Penn State. Penn State is still considered a blue blood and a great team. All they have to do is win 11 games. SC is kind of the same way. Win a national championship every now and then, but stay in the forefront and stay uber competitive, not just 8-4 competitive, like stay really, really competitive and playing big bowl games. And kids will play there, and that's what the fan base wants to see, right? And I think they're on that path.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the standard has to be, I mean, I didn't go to SC. I don't know if anyone knows that, but so people that went there and maybe yourself included would disagree. But I would say
I went
standard,
there. Look, oh, that's me.
Yes, sir. I know, it's a great picture. SC was just at Poly today recruiting. I don't know if you saw that, but they were just at Poly today.
They were
the recruiting visit. Yeah. But I think the standard, the bare minimum standard is competing for. Now it's going to be Big Ten, but competing for conference titles every year. Like they should be in the conversation in the final week of the season of playing in that conference championship. That's the bare minimum. And then after that, they should be in the conversation for the playoff. Now that it's 12 teams, they especially should be in it. But I think it's unrealistic to say they should win it every year. They should be competing for it every year. And everyone needs to understand that just like, Alabama hasn't won it now for a few years, and Clemson had a nice run, but they haven't been in it now for a few years. And LSU had a win, and then they dropped to 6-6 the following year. And it's Georgia's won 2 straight. We'll see how long they can withstand this dynasty now they've created. So I think as long as SC's in that conference championship game or talks every single year, then that's what Lincoln Riley's brought. But then obviously during his tenure, for him to go down as one of the greatest ever, they're going to have to win one. That's going to have to happen. But, there's still time to do that. And to go back really quick before going back to you, Alfred, for me, just going back to how you said about the season and how some would say disappointing and you think it's ahead of schedule, I completely agree with you. The only thing that felt disappointing about the season at all to me was losing to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. I think if they had won that game and got a New Year's Six win, way ahead of schedule, because no one expected a New Year's Six bowl game in year one. But after what they went through and what they did, and then being up 15 points and losing in the final 4.5 minutes to Tulane, that's where it was like, But that's at a microscope. At a macro level, they're ahead of schedule still.
Right. No, 100%. And that was one of the issues that they struggled with the year prior. Like they couldn't finish games and they can't, you know what I mean? Like that was one of the issues with the defense. Relaying into that, but before we get in that, Ryan, I want to tell you something. My cousin had another betting website. They locked him out. I sent them to bet online. They locked him out. Couldn't get it. His money is still in there and everything. I sent them to bet online, gave him the promo code BELIEVE. And this was about a couple of weeks ago, gave him promo code BELIEVE. He's now on bet online and he got the match. So he put his money in, got the 50% match on the welcome bonus. He's actually been doing good, and he's still using the 50% match money because he's been winning a little bit. So if you want that same opportunity, go to betonline, betonline.ag, put the promo code in BELIEVE, that's BELAVE, and you get 50%. So, yep, a lot of good things are happening. And it's playoff time, so don't put your money on the Cowboys.
No. Play some parlays. That's what I stick to, the parlays. Low money, high rewards.
There you go. So there's an issue with the defense. And I remember
Christmas.
I remember early. I was actually looking for the text today so I could actually read it. He was like, is this going to be another bashing of Grinch when this was early in the season when me and Phil were relentless on Grinch. And then I have a friend, and he also thought the same thing, right? He's like, you guys are just looking for every excuse, like not to to put Grinch on the hook. He finally watched the Tulane game. He watched the Pac-12 championship, watched the Pac-12 championship, right? He finally said, man, Grinch is not good. And my brother actually made a good point. He said, is it scheme or is it talent? And then after watching the Tulane game, I could kind of put a percentage on it. I will say a 60% talent, 40% scheme. Mm-hmm. There's still a close margin of scheme and talent. So now they're out getting a bunch of transfers, right?
Yep.
The kid from Oklahoma State, I like him.
It's a big one.
The kid from Georgia Southern, he has potential to be really good. That's a diamond in the rough, right? They got the kid from Texas A&M.
Yep.
I don't think he's that great.
No?
Looking at him, I don't. He's not.
What do you not like about him? Just like the fit?
He's not very explosive.
Okay.
He's not very explosive. And I don't, and I should say this. and this is just from coaching, when you're not playing explosive, is it because you don't know the defense or you just don't have it? So I'm assuming that he was a little bit confused because he's kind of playing like stutters, like he's jittering, like he's not going, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. So if that's it and he becomes very explosive, he could become really good. But from what I see, like film-wise, he's just a big body. Now, if you put him in the middle and use him like an Armstead, like they did at Oregon, or like what's my man who plays at Indianapolis? The big guy the big guy. It's Armstead, right?
Buckner.
DeForest Buckner. Yeah, if you use him like that.
Both are from Oregon. So
yeah, like a 3-tech type where you're a middle guy. I don't think he's explosive enough to be an in rusher type guy. Now, if you just want like a big body in the middle, I can understand why. But right now, 2 out of the 3 guys that they got that I've actually watched, those dudes are going to be good at linebacker. Those dudes are going to be really good.
Well, Alfred, I've talked about it a bunch, that the biggest thing in this defense, like we all thought Grinch was going to be retained at least this year. And the biggest thing you need in this defense, like it or love it, you got to have athletic linebackers. And love Shane Lee, great dude, he's old school linebacker, but he's not a fit in this system, and he's coming back. So obviously we'll see what that means. And that's why Gentry, for all his faults, fit fairly well because he was lengthy, he was athletic, he could kind of cover guys, he could play that QB spy. Well, now this Jamil Muhammad, this Mason Cobb, these 2 backers they got, super athletic. They're almost like Kenneth Murray types that they had back in Oklahoma days. And so I'm not saying it's going to turn this defense into a top 25 unit or something, but it definitely is going to help in some of their biggest deficiencies. And they can, Mason Cobb can tackle, which is a big thing too. This defense was pretty poor at last year. So it definitely will help for sure. We'll see how much.
See, and so I disagree. I think if Mason Cobb and I'm terrible with names. Listen, my man from Georgia State,
Jamil
Muhammad. If Mason Cobb and Jamil Muhammad could play as one unit, and they go and get about 2 more guys on the interior, you got a very good defense. You got a very good defense talent-wise on paper. Most of your secondary's coming back, right? Now, watch this. And this is just me. And I don't know. Hopefully, it seems like the stuff I used to say, Lincoln Riley used to listen. Run power with Austin Jones. They ran power with Austin Jones. So hopefully, put Gentry on the edge as an edge rusher. Use that as like a Bruce Irvin for the Seahawks. Like Bruce Irvin's not that big. Bruce Irvin's only about 230 pounds. Yeah. Right? Put Gentry on the edge as an edge rusher. Use his speed because he's a fast D lineman, average speed linebacker, right? Use that to your advantage. Like,
wait, so what defense, do you disagree with? We're on the same page. What do you disagree with?
About what?
What do you said you disagree?
No, you said that I think that they could be a top 25 defense.
Oh, okay. That's great.
I do. I think they could be I should put it like this. What they have is all they have to do is replace a corner.
Yeah. So okay.
You know what I mean? And they
talk to the good people, coach. Talk to the good people, because every Trojan fan is going to say, as long as Grinch is here, this can't be a good defense. So tell them why with these pieces, with Grinch as the coordinator, this can be a top 25 year. Because I don't disagree with you, but tell the good people why that can happen.
The best example I can give you is when Gentry and Goforth was playing together. When Gentry and Goforth played together, the defense was excelling, right? Because it's like the conversation we had with Bobby Wagner going to the Rams. And I was like, it's not a good pickup because he has to play pass coverage in Raheem Morris's defense. And then, like, if it was just a run stop guy, it's perfect. This isn't a run stop league anymore. You need guys that could run, but guys that could also tackle. The issue was that they didn't have a guy that could run and tackle. They had Goforth, but Goforth got hurt. And you saw the decline. You saw the incline in the defense when Goforth and Gentry played together. And then once Goforth got hurt, you saw the decline. And that's just because personnel-wise, you need the smaller linebacker that everybody's going to that could also play pass coverage and can tackle. The secondary is amazing, right? I don't know if they're opportunistic or if they're just in the right place, or those dudes are all good, right? So all you're doing is replacing one corner from a secondary that had 13 picks or something like that last year, led the conference in picks. Mm-hmm. That's great. Like, now all you have to do is replace up front, and that's your biggest issue. And here's the thing about up front. A lot of the guys that played are coming back. They're only losing 2 guys, and they started playing a lot of guys. And Figueroa was okay. He wasn't, a world beater. Tupou was the guy, right? And I wish him the best of luck in the NFL, but most of those guys are coming back. So you got a lot of guys that, here's the best thing, and this is what I said about Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley coming to USC. They know the terminology. You only have to teach it to 2 new people. Hopefully they have a young corner in the system already that's just going to jump in and play, right? You're teaching 2 people. Go ahead.
Everyone forgets Damani Jackson, 5-star recruit, modern day, is going to be a sophomore now. He should be getting some looks, right? I mean, there's a guy that one of the highest recruited corners in the country, decommitted from SC, and then when Lincoln came to town, recommitted up and got a little bit of playing time last year, but obviously I think he'll have a pretty big role next year as a sophomore.
Right. So he already knows the terminology. They didn't do a bad job. They were the number 1 recruiting class in the transfer portal. Right. So they didn't do a bad job. They went and got the pieces that they needed to go get. If the front plays like they played last year, the defense is good. Now, like I said, it's 60-40, right? And some of the scheme is questionable. And like I said the other day, like with the Vikings, there was a tight end on the line of scrimmage, and the Vikings had a 5-man box. And all of a sudden, you see Saquon Barkley running around the corner. Mm-hmm. That's the issue when it starts coming to scheme, or when you start having guys. We talked about it like last time. When you start having guys like, you have to start matching stuff, and they don't play the flats, and they leave the curls wide open. If you don't believe me, ask Utah's tight end, who's probably going to be a 2nd-round draft pick because of one game against USC, right? You leave a lot of holes open. So schematically, that's where it fails. And when you expose Alex Grinch's defense, it really gets exposed, and it's a very long day for the defense. So the 40% is a lot. If it was 80-20, we could overcome that, right? But there's some things that you can't overcome in his defense, and he gets exposed. And when he gets exposed, it leads to Utah. It leads to Tulane. You know what I mean? It leads to those games where you should win, but you can't fix it in enough time. So you end up getting a lot of points and giving up a bunch of yards and blowing a 15-point lead.
Yeah. I mean, and Tulane, now that the dust has settled a little bit and I've been able to look back, and I'm not saying Grinch deserves praise or anything like that, but when you look back, like, guys just weren't making plays at the end of the day. I mean, you're playing no disrespect to Tulane, but I mean, their running backs breaking 15 tackles every time he touches the ball. They do a simple 8-yard slant and it goes for 80 yards because there's 2 missed tackles on the guy. So yes, and I'm agreeing with you. I agree 100%. The scheme can be exposed, and kudos to Tulane for calling the right plays. But at the same time, if you're just missing tackles, I mean,
right. And so it comes right. Like I said, it comes to it's either players or scheme. And like one of the phrases I was taught a long time ago is you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. So and when all is well, I hope that they're able to fix it. If they are able to fix it, we're looking at a top 25 defense, dude. Like, top 25 year 2 is great, right? And I will say this. I was on the boat of throwing Alex Grinch off the plank, and somebody had to talk me off the ledge because they're like, it just doesn't make any sense to fire him the first year, because you fire him year 1, it doesn't look great on Lincoln Riley. Mm-hmm. Right? You're like, damn, you fired your defense coordinator the year 1. Like, this doesn't look good. Like, give him an opportunity, right? And so
it's a good point.
I'm all for the opportunity. Like, and somebody had to point it out to me. I'm just a defensive guy, so like I'm really deep into like what he does on defense, and I'm not happy with it, but it is what it is. Like, good coordinators fix their issues. So I'm trusting him to fix his issue, but we have to give him another year. We have to give him another opportunity. I haven't looked at the schedule, but hopefully they're non-conference games. They have some guys that they have a game that at least challenges them a little bit. You know what I mean? And hopefully they could get the bugs out early. I'm happy with the early loss. Then I'm happy to an early loss to a competitor than a late loss to blow opportunities for better games, better bowl games. Because now we're on the road of college football playoff. I'll take a semifinal loss, right? Because I mean that the progression. So now it's college football playoff. So I'll take a loss. So yeah, I wasn't for him being fired anymore, I should say.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And their schedule is actually fairly tough. They play obviously Notre Dame, but then they got Nevada and San Jose State are the other two non-conference, which isn't world beaters, but it's better than the SEC's non-conference of playing D3 schools and whatnot. Yeah. So, but no, what was I think frustrating, and then we can move on, but was frustrating about Grinch last year is I thought they really kind of figured it out towards the end of the year. And obviously they played some bad teams like Colorado, but against Notre Dame, I was at that game, obviously, in the press box, and the defense played pretty damn good against Notre Dame. I mean, they gave up some yards here and there, and obviously Notre Dame had a fairly good offense. But the defense, I thought, played fairly well. So then to see them against Utah and then against Tulane, that's where it was like, wow, how did we just have this regression after this kind of getting things on track towards the end of the year, right when they needed to? But now you have the whole offseason. You have these new pieces that we've been talking about that are pieces that were officially recruited by this system. Because remember, when Lincoln and Grinch came here, obviously they got some transfers right when they moved over here, but a lot of it was guys that were here and trying to fit pieces in, square pegs and round holes. And so now I think we'll see, hopefully, that that difference in having the full offseason together and also bringing guys in that you really want that fit. So, I'm here for it because Grinch is here. So let's not, everyone out there that wants to bah humbug and be upset about it. It is what it is. Let's make the best of it and see if we can get this unit to top 25, like you said.
Right. You can only control what you control. And like I said, it looks like they're putting the right pieces. And the linebacker, believe it or not, the linebacker was the missing piece. The linebacker was the issue. And they went and got two guys. You know what I mean? They got a Big 12 guy to play in his defense, which he probably understands very well. And they went and got a Georgia State guy. But just looking at him, the dude could move. Who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Khalil Mack. I see a lot of Khalil Mack and Muhammad. So hopefully we could get that and make it happen. But yeah, like you said, let's roll. Like, he's our guy. Nothing you can do about it. It's kind of like this. He's our quarterback. Let's go. Let's do it. So it is. We can't fire him. We got to go through a season. Let's get through spring. And the goal should be college football playoff this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, and Jamal, my co-host, and obviously know him, he said this when we were talking on one of our last shows. I thought it was a good point that when you have a coach like Lincoln Riley that is based, I mean, he's running the show, right? He's making $12 million a year. He is the face of USC, not just sports, but athletics. Let's be honest. He runs it. Mike Bone's the AD, technically his boss, but Lincoln Riley's the head honcho. So Mike Bone probably has, over Lincoln Riley's tenure, whether it's 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, like 2 to 3 real times where he can go in and kind of play boss and say, hey, you need to do this. And doing it in year one about your defensive coordinator was probably not the right time to use that card. Save that for later down the line when he's been here longer. So I thought that was an interesting point as well.
And I think a lot of the gripes right now are just porch barking. You know what I mean? Like dogs barking on the porch. Like they're happy to see the success, but they want everything to be so perfect right now with USC that it can't be perfect right now. Like, and you have to understand that. Like guys, we were a 4-win team last year. We're now an 11-win team.
Well, not even just I mean? Not even just a 4-win team last year, but essentially a dumpster fire for a decade outside of that one Rose Bowl win that Helton kind of pulled out of his ass. So really just a bad program for 10 years. And to go from a bad program for 10 years to back essentially the final week of the season being in the college football playoff. I mean, to me, it's remarkable still.
Right. And we understand the dumpster fire was not SC's fault. but we won't get in that. That's a Slack conversation for a Saturday afternoon. But yeah, definitely moving forward. So number 13 comes back. The last person to ever do it was Archie Griffin. Back
to back.
Does 13 win another Heisman?
Oh man, so hard to do. But I think, let me say this. I think we haven't even yet seen the best Caleb Williams. So whether he statistically does more to win a Heisman or someone else has like a phenomenal turnaround, but I think he can get even better than what he did this year, which is impressive. So I think he can. I'll say yes. I think we can see another Heisman out of Caleb back to back.
And it's very possible. And I don't disagree at all. Do you know what Caleb Williams' biggest flaw is?
Pocket presence.
He's too smart.
Too smart. Okay.
He knows this offense inside and out. And so there's times where he's not happy with the play call and he thinks he knows better. That's going to be his biggest flaw. And I think this year being his last year, we're not going to sugarcoat it. This is his last year at USC. Yeah. This year being his last year, I feel like there will be some play call changes that Lincoln doesn't make or does not approve. Or I should say this. I recant that statement. Lincoln does give him the ability to audible, but I think he's going to audible to where he's still a kid. So I know what's better. I want to audible to this because I like this, and it's going to cost. He'll have more turnovers this year than he did last year, but he'll still be amazing because he's going to show that he knows what he's doing. And it's not a bad thing. It's one of those things you're just way advancing your game, but you got to understand that these defensive coordinators have been doing it longer than you. So you're smarter than a college player, but you're not smarter than a DC. Right. So there's something they're showing, just because they're showing you that doesn't mean that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
It's not going to take the fact that he's probably going to be the top quarterback taken. It's not going to take the fact that we're going to have to fight everybody comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, which we will not do on the show. I don't compare players. I will say he reminds me of, he does have some remnants of Patrick Mahomes. He reminds me of Patrick Mahomes, but Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. He does not have to live up to Patrick Mahomes type. I'm not going to do that to that kid. I'm not a fan of that, and I don't think it's fair. But he will be the number one quarterback taken next year. He will play out of his mind. He has to make the college. He has to win the Pac-12 championship, and he has to win the Pac-12 championship this upcoming year for him to win the Heisman again.
And what's annoying to me, but voters seem to, once you've won it, you have to then, even the next year, if you're the best player in the country again, you have to have supplanted your last year's accomplishments. And like you said, your team has to supplant last year's accomplishment. We've seen it in USC history with players that have had the opportunity for back-to-back and they finished third in the voting because they didn't quite hit those same marks or whatever. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, USC is going to have to win the Pac. It's going to probably have to be in the college football playoff, and he's going to have to put up 50 touchdowns.
Right. And he's going to have a Reggie Bush game. Reggie Bush Fresno State game. He needs one of those Reggie Bush Fresno State games for sure to stamp it. Right.
And I'm putting you on the spot because I don't know, but who are the other QBs in the league that can compete with him? Because obviously everyone that was in the running this year is all going to the draft. Duggan, Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis. Who are the guys, the up and coming guys that could even challenge him?
You
got a lot in the Pac-12. I mean, you got Michael Penix Jr., who should have been, I think, a finalist, in my opinion, out of Washington. I mean, you lead the league, you lead the entire college football in touchdowns. You aren't even a finalist. That was disrespectful. You got, I don't know if Jason Delore is there yet, but I mean, he's got a lot of talent. Obviously, Cam Rising coming back for his 20th year at Utah. So, I mean, it might be the guys in the Pac-12 that are his biggest competition for the Heisman. Because we're sitting here in January. I haven't looked at the college landscape going in the next year in totality, but all the top QBs are leaving minus Caleb Williams. So in reality, when you peel it back, like it's his to win.
The Tennessee quarterback is coming off injury though, right?
Yeah, Hendon Hooker. Yeah, he's coming off a pretty ACL big injury, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's coming back off ACL. I'm trying to scour the landscape.
Yeah. I mean, I think a dark horse you have obviously what's his name is returning to Oregon. I mean, dude, it's the Pac-12. DJ
Bo Nix.
I'm gonna butcher his name. DJ from Clemson, Oregon State. Ukulele. Yeah. And then you got Bo Nix at Oregon. I mean, it's all in the pack.
I will say
JJ McCarthy, maybe from Michigan, maybe.
Well, the quarterback that's supposed to be the starter at Alabama is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
so they're going. Yeah, but he's not a thrower. He's a runner, so he might have some learning curves to deal with. But he played a couple of games last year. But
when Bryson was hurt, yeah.
So they're going to throw. They're going to throw him up there just because he plays for Alabama and SEC. But you're right. Like, it's Bo Nix, DJ Ukulele, Hooker, Cam Rising.
Uyunglele. I think it's Uyunglele.
Uyunglele. Did the Washington State quarterback go with the coach to Texas State? So Washington State's OC got a head coaching job at Texas State. So did he go with him? Because he came with him from UIW.
I don't remember, actually. I have to look into that.
So, shoot, if that running back is coming back from
Washington, I think he's still Washington State. I'm pretty sure.
I got you. If that running back is coming back from Washington State, shit, he needs to be in the running for the Heisman because that dude ran the ball all throughout the league. Like, you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. The Pac-12 was down for so long because SC was down. And then other schools started to come in and California started cheating and started taking out the pipeline. Now the Pac-12 is back and they're competitive like they used to be competitive. And people don't understand. They got so used to SEC, like, oh, only 2 teams are good in the whole conference and they should go undefeated and play each other in the conference championship. And that team should have 1 loss. That's competitive. No, that's not competitive. Competitive is any Saturday, you could walk into any stadium in a small town like Corvallis, like Pullman, or play in Seattle where your stadium's on a lake, and then every time they start barking, it echoes off the lake and comes right back in, and it's hard to hear. You know what I mean? Or playing at Elevation in Utah. People didn't respect the Elevation in Utah until Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley played there. Like, seriously? Like, what's going on? Or they don't understand that Arizona's hot as hell, and when we played Arizona State, we had to play at noon. Erickson made you play it at noon. If you want to come see us, come play us at noon, right? The Pac-12 is very, very competitive, and you could go in any stadium any week, and you can lose. Like, doesn't matter who you are. If you don't believe me, go look back at Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush when they had those teams. There was games where they were dogfights, right?
Yeah.
Cal, Arizona State, Washington State had 1 year where they were good and they gave a dogfight, right? Yeah. We never won in Oregon. When I was at SC, there was like 5 years where we just did not win in Oregon. Doesn't matter what Oregon was, Oregon State or Oregon, right? Because Corvallis is loud. The Pac-12 is very, very, very competitive, and people don't understand that.
Last year, because Corvallis, they're renovating their stadium, the SC game, it was like 30,000 people, and it was loud as hell.
Right.
It was like
and the whole
tiny stadium because they're renovating it.
And the article came out like Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams didn't expect that from Corvallis. Like, you should have asked, bro. Like, I could legit tell you, like, and it's the same thing in Pullman. It's the same thing in Washington. The only 2 schools that have fan issues are Stanford and Cal, right?
Exactly what you're going to say, Stanford and Cal.
Sorry, Jamal. But regardless of that, like, the rest of the conference, they have fans show up. Tucson, their fans show up in Tucson, and they're crazy in Tucson.
The zone is zoo.
Yeah, like that's the most Southwest you could possibly get. Like, and you start to get a little remnant to Texas and a little bit of that in Tucson. So, like, Like Pac-12 is very, very competitive. I think the best thing that happened for the Pac-12 is Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Right? Them coming in and be like, what you say?
And now they're leaving in a year.
Well, yeah, that's unfortunate. You're right, because they're going to the Big Ten. So, but this year they'll still get their credit that they'll get, because it's like they're saying, like, when they go and they talk about it, like, we didn't know Corvallis was this loud. We didn't know the elevation would do that to us in Utah. We didn't know this. We didn't know that. And people were looking like, huh, it's not as easy as people make it seem, right?
Oh, yeah. And Fred, guess who else is going to be pretty damn good this year?
Who's that?
Colorado is going to be pretty good this year.
I won't believe it until I see it.
Yeah, that's fair, but they'll definitely be better than one win. That's for sure.
Yeah, they'll be better than one win. They'll win 4. Like, the only place they could go is up, but I won't believe it when I see it. It's a little different from Jackson State. Like everybody thinks they're going to be a pro until they figure out they're not a pro.
Yep.
So if I'm not playing, I'm not a pro, I'm transferring. Like, Dion, you can't keep me here. I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to be a pro. So it's a little, we'll see. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I want to see it. But you're right. Colorado will be better. And Colorado is not. That's why you got excited about that, because you're a Colorado guy.
I'm not a fan, though. I mean, but we got Colorado at the Color this year, so it'll be fun. We got Dion in LA. We got prime time in LA this year.
You might get a Michael Irvin appearance.
I think we'll get a lot of appearances at that game. That should be celebrity. I mean, every game's got celebrities, but that one will be celebrities galore.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebrities coming out, but that's events. But that's the state, in my opinion. That's the state of the Trojans, right? Let's see what Alex Grinch does. Caleb Williams just has to be Caleb Williams. I love the transfers, man. And I think the progression, the Trojans are trending up. And the problem with trending up, the way they trended up, was they were a game away from the college football semifinal, right? So trending up leads to a national championship.
Yep.
You know, so with the 12, and they're going to be in the Big Ten. I mean, if we really want to break down the Big Ten, it's Ohio State. Everybody else, we could the game's too big for Penn State. We know how they do in big games. We don't know what Michigan team will show up, the really good one or the one that just lays the egg. Yep. The rest of them we could talk about. Now, I will tell you one team I am worried about in the Big Ten is Minnesota, because they're coached very well and they prepare for situations. But I like other than that,
I like PJ Fleck a lot. But yeah, you can't tell me Iowa is better than Washington or Oregon or Utah, or come on. So USC is going to be. I mean, this year, Alfred, or we can wrap up here. But this year, most likely, if they keep the divisions how they are, most likely UCLA and USC will be in the Big Ten West. Mm-hmm. And so this season, they would have finished 1-2. USC would have been in the Big Ten championship game playing Michigan. So it's not like it's good. Anyone should be that worried about going to the Big Ten. They're going to be having easier time than the Pac-12.
No, definitely. So it all works. But yeah, like I said, the state of the Trojans are great. They're trending up, and an upward trend is leading to a national championship. I'm not worried about it. Hopefully we have a good spring. Hopefully Ryan can pull his strings and we can get out to the spring game this season.
Oh, we'll be there. We'll be there.
We should do a broadcast from the spring game. It might be something we're talking about too. Mm-hmm. We'll put that in the think tank. But definitely,
make it happen.
You got anything else to close, Ryan?
No, I think there's a lot of positives for this program where they're at, and I'm excited to put 2022 behind us and move into 2023 with everything we talked about and all the expectations. And I think we'll still see some transfers come in here. I not to end this on a sour note, but I'm sure you saw Kyle Ford flipping and transferring to UCLA, playing across the ways. I was,
did he?
Oh, you didn't see?
I haven't seen that. When did that happen?
Like 2 hours before we jumped on here.
So, no, I was the big. I love Brenden Rice and Kyle Ford. I was the biggest fan, man.
Yeah, he's going to Westwood. So
that's crazy. Kyle Ford is
72 yards and a tutty against UCLA, and now he's on their squad. So
he's gonna be the most successful pro out of all them dudes. Watch.
Yeah, he's got such a good body size. So
yeah,
bummed to see that, but I think we'll see some more transfers, and obviously got signing day in February again. So a lot of things to be excited about USC, Alfred.
Definitely. I'm not worried, like I said, and we're making progression, not regression. Love the hire like I did a year ago when I was so excited. So hopefully we keep moving forward and we keep fighting on. Ryan, I appreciate you for joining me on the show. I'll get a host for you guys soon, man, but I love it. I love to have you. Hopefully we get Jamal on here one day. That would be really great. This was the Bet Online Salute to Troy show presented to you by LAFB. It was always good. You know how it goes. Live free, fight on. We'll see you guys.